trending market. Now, speaking of a range-bound market, this is kind of an interesting one. We talked about this last night's newsletter and the fact that we had that trading range, right? And we had the pendulum swing below the range, and we're expecting a nice strong move higher here. And as you can see, read it perfectly here in the short term. The news yesterday morning, or this morning, I should say, it feels like it was yesterday morning, right? The news this morning from Draghi obviously sent this price higher, and then, like I said yesterday evening, right? Beware those strong moves will likely be sold into that news this morning. So of course that then results now in this real strong spike in channel. So Euro's bearish and trading with a spike in channel this evening, but we have a few simple clues that tell us the bears may have a difficult time finishing off the double down target tomorrow. First, the 10,000 round number right in the middle of this chart will most likely continue to act like a magnet. Remember, whenever we see a big round number come into play, and also when the big round number is right in the middle of the chart, we can't predict the future, but you can anticipate this pretty well, that until we can get a good amount of distance away from that big round number, that round number will continue to be a price magnet. I still need proof. I'm not just going to guess, right? But it definitely will continue to be there. So we have to think that's going to be the back of the minds of a lot of buyers here tomorrow. Second thing, we can see the news this morning sent prices racing higher above that round number, only to collapse back down in almost perfect symmetry. The third thing is price is currently holding the high of this bear channel, which is almost always a big clue that buyers may be trying to dig their heels in and send this price back to 10,000 and possibly all the way back up for a full pendulum swing all the way back up to the high earlier today. Sellers have control. Let's not lose sight of this. Sellers have control, and the spike in channel tells them, those bears, to look for traps and failures up at the resistance levels overhead for a target going back to retest the lows. But also, don't forget, that's exactly what the buyers want to see right now as well, except they'll want to see a pullback hold above that moving average for an easy shot back to 10,000. What a chart! Right? What a chart. Pretty interesting situation here. So you have the big round number right in the middle of it, right? Price runs higher, right? As Draghi takes the microphone today, collapses back down. You almost want to look at this and go, this is just one big range. Now, one thing, though, that I think is kind of interesting, though, is that they actually didn't get the symmetrical pendulum swing. So we may still see this thing, right, try to make a run for that double down, or at the very least, right, double bottom here, chop around, and then start seeing it move back up. Let's break this down, though. Most important thing on this chart, the spike in channel, right? Spike in channel tells the sellers that everyone's already short. When I see a spike, when we see a bear spike in channel, by the time we finish off the channel portion of the spike in channel, everybody knows what's going on. Right? There's no way you can look at a spike in channel and think, maybe it's bullish. Everybody knows it's bearish. And when everybody knows the same thing, what usually happens? Everybody's already short. There's nobody left to sell, right? And of course, price now will rise higher by default. Buyers can smell it. Sellers start taking profit, and price starts to pull back. Where will it pull back to? It'll usually pull back to one of these prior swings, right, using the correction zone. So we're expecting to see the market jump up, right, buyer failure, and right back down again. But wait a second, that now puts us in a very difficult spot, because now if this thing jumps higher here, can't you see the buyers thinking we're going back to the big round number and making this very difficult for those sellers? Also, too, you'll notice here, and this is very consistent across the board. It's not just a spiking channel, but anytime you have a channel like this is a bear channel, right? And we're rotating from high to low, high to low, high to low, right? We go up. If we start to hold on to the high of that channel, this is not good, right? That is usually the sign of the very least being a two-legged correction, at the very most, right? Two-legged correction, then back down again. At the very most, a full-blown reversal of the trend. So we're holding, again, this very early in the overnight session right now, right? So we can't really trust this yet until we see more information. But this is an example where sellers had all the information they need. They had plenty of time to finish the job, but apparently, right, they're not quite interested, and they're holding the high of that channel. So if I'm a buyer right now, I'm looking for that breakout pullback to go back up to hit that big round number. If I'm a seller right now, I'm looking for that breakout pullback to fail, right? Get above that prior resistance, breakout pullback fails, and sell it back down again. As the price goes lower here, this is where we got to be careful, right? Think about the low of day right now. That low, right? That's going to be your low. What I want to see here is, like I always say, if we're seeing some signs of exhaustion, it's much better to be on the more cautious side, get a strong breakdown, get that moving average to join you, right? And get that breakout pullback below that low. Almost treat it like a measured move would, right? Or any other major support area, right? So what you don't want is to see this market just kind of dip its toe in the water here, right below that low. Moving average barely comes over now, and now you've got sellers here now trying to sell above the high of that channel, above the pendulum swing. This is just spelling disaster waiting to happen, right, for those bears. So strong move down, hold below the pendulum swing, hold the high of that channel, right? And your target, of course, now is going to be that, right, will be that double up. And it will also be, right, it'll also be a large measured move, but it's unlikely. It's unlikely for a Friday to get that big of a move. We'll have to wait and see, right? We'll have to wait and see. What is also a possibility for tomorrow is if we see this market tumble lower, but we don't get that full reversal back higher, keep in mind it may turn into, because of this real strong move lower here, it may turn into a trading range, and we'll keep looking to sell the high of that range back down, right? You're kind of your typical real strong run lower that can't quite keep going lower, but isn't ready to reverse yet, and so we keep looking to sell the high, right, of that range back down again, right? Buyers have a pretty simple job right now. Hold that pullback. Right? Buyers, pretty simple job right now. Buyers want to hold that pullback up to that big round number. From there, it's really tough to say where we go from there. If we're going to start making the run all the way back into that pendulum swing, I'm going to need to see some real good strength, right? We're not going to want to try to buy a pullback around that big round number. It's going to have to keep pushing higher through it and show me some real good strength, and then I can take that pullback up to the pendulum swing high all the way back around. If I had to guess tomorrow, though, I would guess we find a way to make our way back into that big round number. Either it's going to be a trap low, seller failure, and back up, right, to finish off that pendulum swing, right, if they can't get a strong enough breakdown, or, right, we get that move higher, breakout, pullback, back up. Either it breaks up and sits here, right? And of course, if it sits like this, then you know, buy those lows, sell those highs, focus on failures, or it runs up to the round number, continues, and you get something like this, right? Where we see that, right? Buy the first one, skip the big round number, right? Buy the third one, and your target is back up to the pendulum swing. Relatively easy to anticipate these things, especially on gold and euro tonight. But as I keep reminding you, make sure you get that proof. And also, one last reminder here, don't forget,